So Scott, how did you end up meeting Nick anyways?
I got introduced to Nick from one of my close friends growing up. His mother was in the industry, and she said, "Hey, if you want to get into real estate, you need to be on a team. I have to introduce you to Nick." So the first time I met him, I think as a realtor, the first thing you should ever do with any client or anybody you meet is go on Google, try to find out information about them, dig up info ahead of time. One of the first links was his IMDb page. So when we sat down,
What's an
the first day was
IMDb?
talking about that.
What is that?
IMDb is the what it's basically if you're a movie star, TV celebrity, anything along those lines. If you're an actor, you have an IMDb. It's like a Facebook for
Yeah,
actors. So
that's funny.
found out all about Nick from there.
So
Why
Nick,
does he
movie
have that
star.
page? Like, first of all, I'm sure he absolutely loves that he has one of those, but why does he have one?
Every conference he talks about how he was on TV on FYI, which I don't know about you, but FYI is the free channel that I get. I don't even have to pay for it.
I've never heard of it.
Season 1 host of Waterfront House Hunters. So that's his claim to fame.
Oh my
Well,
gosh, that's
he
hilarious.
told us about that when we had breakfast with him, right, Brent?
He did. Yeah. So obviously, this is a point
Yeah.
of a topic that he likes to bring up because it's his claim to fame.
If I remember right, he said, "Hey Chase, tell your friends about my time on FYI."
And here is a real estate titan that is pushing the limits on the status quo.
And it took years and years of failing to get where I am today.
You're like, whoa, where you actually get the most clarity.
That was kind of one of those pivotal moments when I started building a business.
I spent a lot of time becoming an expert salesperson.
All right, we're here with our friend Scott Moran. He's a top producing agent out of the Ellicott City area in Maryland. One of the most sharp and thoughtful real estate minds that Nick knows. He's shared him with us today. He's ranked in the top 5% of agents nationwide. And he brings a unique combo because he comes with a mortgage background and now obviously selling real estate. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're super excited to have you.
Thank you guys for having me. It's always been a dream to be on a podcast. It's all I listen to, walking around, going to the gym. So this is a fun experience.
Well, if it's any consolation, it is the #1 podcast in the world, if you ask my mom.
I trust her.
And this is going to be kind of like meta. So Scott, how's it feel to be listening to me talking to you on the podcast while you're walking? So that's for future, okay?
I'll never listen to Alex Hormozy again. This is the only thing I'm going to listen to.
So tell us about your journey. You told us earlier that you were in the mortgage industry for about 6 years. Tell us about that experience. Give us just a high level 1-minute version of that.
Yeah, so go back to college. I graduated from Virginia Tech in 2012 with a major in political science. My father said, get a business degree. You're never going to go anywhere with political science. He was correct. It didn't really take me anywhere if I wasn't going to go to law school. So right out of school, decided, hey, I got to get into sales, got to find a way to actually get into business because that's where I belonged. While I was working for Kohl's department stores as an operations manager, I met a gentleman that trained mortgage loan officers. He pulled me out in the middle of the night and said, hey, you work for me starting next week. And I wound up being there for 6-7 years, working with veterans, doing debt consolidation, cash out loans, lowering interest rates, trying to save our veterans as much money as possible.
So you have an interesting story though, because, people think loan officer and they think someone going out and meeting agents and building relationships with agents and then servicing those clients. How was your experience in the mortgage industry different from that?
Very different in the sense that I didn't work with a single realtor my entire time there, except for when they came in to do seminars to try to get us to buy houses. It was a call center. So it was 125, 150 people in a building, cubicles, ripping calls, news, internet leads, anything and everything. And it was how many times can you pick up the phone and how many hours can you talk on the phone every day?
What did that look like for you? Like, was it 5 days a week? Was it 6 days a week? How many hours a day? How many conversations were you having? How many dials were you averaging? What did that look like?
Yeah, so on the daily basis, our goal was between 5 and 6 hours of talk time on the phone, which to get that much talk time, we were average 10, 11 hours a day. every other week. It was 5 days, then 6 days. So we'd work half days on Saturdays. And so we averaged out about 55, 60 hours a week. Not an easy schedule to start a family with, but it was an amazing training ground to learn how to talk to people, how to read a script, how to follow processes, and quite frankly, how to grind when you're still in your 20s.
You know, this is interesting to me, and I want to go down this rabbit hole a little bit. If you two will humor me, what do you think that is worth? I mean, because you made money doing loans, but what do you think that's worth? The training you got. You know, if you went to college for 4 years or 8 years, got a doctorate or whatever, you know, you paid 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever. What do you think that training and education has meant to you in terms of value?
I mean, the world. It was competition constantly. Every day you're working to move up on the leaderboard to get better calls, learn how to follow scripting correctly. And it was an MBA in and of itself because you're running a business at 23, 24 years old, in charge of our grandparents and our parents' finances, right? Helping them keep those things aligned. So it was a crash course in growing up quick and being able to learn everything you needed.
So what do you, this may like kind of shift gears a little bit, but you know, Chase and I talk about this all the time. You know, in real estate specifically, I think in lending, you could probably, you know, attribute a similar mindset, but like, it's interesting. People get into real estate, they think freedom, but really what they're getting is freedom from working. And why do you think, like, what was the difference in your mind? You went there and you worked 55, 60 hours a week. You grinded, you said was the word. Huge education for you in just probably knowing what to say, how to say it, knowing what hard work and grit feels like and what the reward can be, because I'm sure you made a lot of money. Why do you think people get into real estate and they don't apply those same principles to themselves in real estate? Why do you think so many people get in and they don't do work like that?
I got into real estate because I wanted that flexible schedule, right? So I left lending when my daughter was being born. Her story, she was born with a heart defect. She's an open heart surgery survivor at 5 pounds, 6 weeks old. Amazing success story. And during that time, I need to create flexibility. My wife is, you know, she works for the DOD. She's in an office all day. She can't be at the appointment. She can't be as flexible. So I said, hey, let me get into real estate because I can do whatever, whenever, and just hang out, right? Which is that trap. A lot of people get into real estate and say, I got the most flexible schedule of all time. Then they forget to create that structure for themselves. So when are you doing the things that you need to do to be productive and to create your business? If you don't, and if you just leave all white space in your calendar, it's hard to be successful.
So structure is what I'm hearing you say. Do you think that's what agents are missing when they get in and they end up having so much white space in their calendar, is just a lack of intention and structure? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's probably 75, 80% of why agents might not be successful. Something that my wife and I worked on a couple of years ago was integrating our calendars. So her calendar shows on mine shows on hers, our family, we have all the different calendars showing. So we can see every hour of the day what's going on between the two of us. And the night before I start work, every night I go through and say, hey, when am I going to be prospecting? When am I going to be contacting my clients? And my calendar, by the time I start for the day, is full, even if it's as simple as this is your rest time. This is when you can sit back and relax and hang out for a little bit, so that I actually follow through with that.
Something else you said that I think is super interesting is you went through a hardship with your daughter. I'm sure that wasn't emotionally easy. Right?
Not easy at all.
Yeah. So, you know, I think another factor that, or challenge that agents deal with in real estate is life happens, crap happens, things that can be emotionally straining. So walk me through how you dealt with that and you still stayed in business and did what you were supposed to do.
Yes, this is something that when I was lending, I spent a couple of years actually as the trainer for the sales floor. So when we had new loan officers come in, spend time with them to teach them systems and all of that. And during that experience, something that I preached all of my new lenders was leave your briefcase at the door. When you walk in the building, whatever's going on the outside needs to stay outside. And when you go back out, pick it back up, and vice versa. Don't let your work drag into your family time. Don't let your family affect your work. Because if you mesh it together, which is easy to do with real estate, it's hard to separate it back out when that time needs to be focused. So always just leave your briefcase at the door.
Yeah, I think going back to structure, it's amazing. I talk about that value that Scott had, developing these systems and habits and tools. When you came into real estate, how many people were coming in 5 days a week and on the phone for 6 hours a day?
None of them. Can't put a name on many people that were at the desk just pounding the phone trying to call people, right? When you start out, you might make 10 calls that first couple of months, and you're trying to just call your family and you don't know what to do. Find a database, find a lead source, and how many times can you call them until they say no to you? If they haven't said no, they still might buy. So don't stop.
Yeah, I think that's just really interesting. If you're a real estate agent out there listening to this and you're like, how can I find success? I mean, Scott, if an agent did what you did in lending, is there any way that they could fail in real estate?
It's impossible to fail if you're taking action. Right? Grant Cardone said massive action creates massive issues, which creates massive opportunities. And the more times you're reaching out, the more times you're taking action, the more you'll learn, the quicker you do, and the quicker you're able to get up and running.
So this might feel like a punch in the face, or even like someone picking up a 2x4 and hitting them in the face. But if you're not getting what you want out of real estate, look in the mirror and ask, and truly ask, like, am I doing the activities I need to do in order to be successful? And, so I love that about your journey, Scott. I think that did set you up for success. So let's transition to real estate. Now you're in real estate. Did you just sell a ton of homes day one? What happened?
It's a slow ramp up. When you're starting the industry, you need to know that the first couple of months, you're not going to get paid, right? From when you go under contract, it's going to be at least 30 days before you get to closing and get paid. And it's going to take 30, 60, probably 90 days before you get somebody under contract. So you need to be planning on that ramp up time. And when you are working with somebody, you have to continue that prospecting. Because if all you're doing is servicing your clients, when they close, who are you working with from there? So the ramp up is very important to not stop prospecting.
Yeah. Well, how does consistency, show up in that early phases? Because when you get a deal, you're like, I want to pet it and hug it and touch it and hold it. And anytime they call, I'm going to like drop everything and take care of their call. Like, how do you balance that with going and finding the next deal?
Yeah. So I measured my days off of, instead of how many yeses I received, I measured off of how many no's I got. And if I had 10 people, 15 people say no, yell at me and get upset, that meant that I was doing something right, because you're that much closer to a yes. And the person that has already said yes to you is already committed. So at that point in time, it's following up, having that conversation, but I want to continue being told no behind the scenes so that next yes is coming for me.
That's an interesting perspective, Brent. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, here's what's interesting to me when I hear that. Are you going to get no's?
Yeah.
Yes. That is inevitable, that people are going to say no to you. In fact, the reality, Scott, is what you understood is you're going to get way more people saying no than you're going to get saying yes. And so you, to some extent, kind of gamified it. Like, I just need to get a lot of no's. And you didn't tie yourself to the outcome. You tied yourself, the outcome was the no. Like, that's sweet. I got another no. My guess is, and this could be a complete hallucination, but just talking to you and hearing your intellect, my guess is that you counted your no's, but you also probably got better and better at figuring out how to hear the no, but not stop the conversation, if you will.
Similar to sports. So while I was in college, I was an athlete. My claim to fame was I was a cheerleader at Virginia Tech. So something I never did before I got into school and into college. I was always playing football, hockey, everything like that, and getting at a collegiate level, having to learn and catch up to people that have been doing it their entire life. It was all about the repetitions. So every time you fail, instead of doing the same thing again, you have to realize, what did I do wrong? How can I change that? How could I be better? And don't be afraid to fail again and again and again, because as long as you continue failing and you're learning from that failure, you're getting closer to that success.
Got it. Got it. So when we're talking about the phones, the reality is that's not the only way to find business. Right. That's true, right? You can find business a lot of ways. But one thing, Chase and I, when we're talking to our agents or where we're coaching other agents or we're coaching leaders of teams, one common denominator is that the phone is the common denominator almost under any circumstance. Meaning, if someone masters open houses, well, they're going to make a majority of their income on the follow-up. The follow-up comes over the phone. If someone masters networking, they're going to make a majority of their income off of the follow-up. The follow-up happens over the phone. And so, what's your take on the phone and agents who are scared of it?
We get way too dependent on automatic drip systems, right? So creating that big sphere, creating the network, getting all the people into your database is important. But you can't no matter how good AI is, you can't let it do your follow-up. You can't let it do your actual close. You need to then call them. So I set up different systems in our CRM where I reach out to any of my hot prospects at least every 5 days. Anybody that's looking to buy within the next 3 to 6 months, I'm talking to every 2 to 3 weeks. And then anyone and everyone else that I know that I have their phone number, I have their number, that they know who I am, they're getting a call minimally once a quarter, getting invited to events, getting spoken to and hearing my actual voice. That you just need to keep touching people constantly, because we all know realtors, we all know loan officers, we all know people in all sorts of industries. They're going to be calling the person that they know, like, and trust, and also the person they heard from most recently. Because when they say, hey, we need to move, we need more space, we need to sell my parents' house, who's the last person they talk to? It better be me. That's my goal.
Well, that's all well and good. But and then Chase, I'll let you go. Sorry for interrupting.
You're good.
How do you make the phone lighter though? Because I'm guessing, are you just calling them and saying, hey, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Or are you actually forming a relationship with these people and then, discussing real estate as it comes up, or intentionally when it makes sense?
Yeah, keeping notes, following them in multiple platforms. Do they have social media? Before you call them, what's the last thing they posted or put on there? I'm going to call somebody. Hey, I saw that you guys got a new dog. That's awesome. What kind of dog is it? Find out about those factors. You've been dating Jocelyn for 3 years now. When are you going to pop the question? Just make some jokes and lighten things up. And then at the end, throw in, by the way, I can't get off the phone without mentioning, I'm in real estate. Do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? No matter where that goes, all good. It was great catching up. I want to get touch base. We're going to have this event coming up. We'd love to see you there and just continue that conversation. So finding out what's going on with them.
Think about that right there. You just said something that was genius. You said, by the way, I can't get off the phone without bringing up real estate. And that's pretty direct. It's pretty to the point. And I think if you're establishing a relationship and connecting with people, that's not an uncommon thing to say, because you're in real estate and that's what you do for a living. And it's frankly probably why you're actually calling them, and you're being authentic in that.
Think about the Secret Service. We all know who they are. It's very obvious who's in the Secret Service, but we call them the Secret Service. Don't be a secret agent. Make sure everybody knows what you're doing and why you want to stay in touch.
So just to really iron out this phone thing, I don't know your answer to this. I have an idea. If you had a choice of chatting with a client in person or chatting with them on the phone, which one would you prefer?
I'm a person. I would love to see them in person, catch up and hang out. I'm always going to do a follow-up phone call. I'm also pretty big on video. I love to shoot a quick video clip out to them. After I go on an appointment, I'm always sending them a thank you video as I walk away from their house with their house in the background. If I'm at a birthday party, whatever it might be, the next morning they're getting a video of a thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Okay. So you prefer in person. By the way, the video thing's a great idea. Everyone should send more video. Everyone. It's like you think of a handwritten note. I'm going to send them a handwritten note, but you write 100 of the same handwritten notes and you pretend like it's like personalized. I'm not saying it's not, and it definitely becomes well received, but imagine sending an actual video that takes you 30 seconds and just sending yourself, and now that's face, name, and everything. So anyways, you are like almost every single person I've ever coached and led in real estate, Scott. They're like, I'm so much better in person. Just for the record, if you're listening to this and you're one of those agents that's saying, I'm so much better in person, duh, we get it. We understand that. You probably didn't spend your first 20 or 30 years of life living on the phone in your relationship. So totally understand. There's something Scott's mentioned, though, which is they're going to use whoever they thought of last. And the reality is we cannot be in person every time that we engage with our clients. And if your only plan is to be in person with people, you could do that effectively maybe 2 or 3 times a year if you do it really well. But you add the phone, you add text, you add some videos. Now you're touching these people, personally touching these people 7, 8, 10 times a year, And then if you couple that with whatever your systems are on the back end to keep in touch, like it's really going to put you top of mind. So thank you so much for sharing that. So give us an idea of where you're at today, because we were talking, you're inside of a large organization. You're one of the top agents inside of that organization, and you're now building your own business within the business. Tell us about that.
Yeah, interesting, fun place to be at. Only been in the industry for 5 years now, already ready to start expanding and creating a team within the team that I'm currently on. And I'm on the Waldner Winters team, which is the number one team in Maryland, DC, Virginia, Delaware, and we do quite a bit, which allows us to be able to work with so many people on a daily basis and have such a large grasp. But where a lot of agents find themselves is, I can only do so much. I have a 6-year-old daughter at this point in time. My wife is working full time. We have a lot on our schedules. I can't continue to grow, but I still want to. So I'm looking to create some leverage, looking to bring somebody new on where I can create a team within our actual team, and just continue building out what we're doing currently.
Well, let me pause you for a second. You said you can't continue to grow, but you still want to. Maybe allow me to ask another question here. Like, you can continue to grow, you just can't do it on your own.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. With the time that you want to allot towards the business, you don't want to put more time in. You just want to figure out a way to serve more clients in the same amount of time.
I always want to, we all want to sell more homes. We all want to work with more clients, but equally important, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be there for every gymnastics practice and all of those kinds of things. But how can I continue to grow my business while I'm at all of those events? That starts to become the leverage in creating that growth.
Got it. So what's your idea? What's your plan?
Yeah. So right now I'm looking to bring on a licensed, executive assistant / showing agent, somebody who I can work with on a daily basis that can basically become Scott 2.0. My vision for it, and I would love some advice from you, is the first 90 days to have somebody that comes on and we spend every single hour together 5-6 days a week, and they follow everything that I do. When I'm mentoring somebody, everybody says, how do we bring value to you? And the value that I'm looking for in somebody would be great questions. Question what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I could improve my own processes, so that I learn and I can be better while I'm working with my clients, but they understand why I do what I do, and they can slide in and be that person where next week I'll be in Michigan for a conference. I would love for that to be them step in and nothing changes whatsoever when I'm here versus while they're helping me out.
Yeah, you asked for some coaching, so or some ideas on this. I've got some questions. So The first one is like, are you wanting them to do exactly what you do, or are you wanting them to do the things you don't want to do?
I never want to stop doing the things I don't want to do, because as soon as you do that, you get too complacent and comfortable and you forget why you've been able to get to where you're at. That said, I do want to create a little bit of that extra leverage to be able to do more door knocking, be in person with people more often, a little bit more with the mailers. So we'd love somebody to be involved there. But I want to be a 50-50 kind of partner on the actions and what we're doing on the daily basis of we're both doing the same things. It's just when and how we fit that in.
I have a ton of questions, Brent. Do you want to jump in? I don't want to.
Before Chase asks his slew of questions, my input is something you could do that's really effective when you're training someone, is you can put a spreadsheet together and you make it the person you're training's job to write down everything you do, line by line as you go. So yeah, you're going to want them to follow you around. And then you create 3 columns on the spreadsheet. And the first column says, I do it. The second column says, we do it. And the third column says, they do it. And so what we do in our organization is once they've watched me do it and have an understanding, they check the box and say the I do it part is done. And then it's they do it while I watch them. And once I say, yes, you have it, we check the we do it off. And then once they go and do it on their own and I follow up and inspect it and make sure that it was done the way it was supposed to without me observing, then we check off the they do it. Then they own that role, that piece of the role. So that you asked for some advice. That's the advice I would give you to streamline getting them up and running within 90 days.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I'm asking my questions, one of the things you said, which I would challenge you a little bit on, and I think this is helpful for people out there who are looking to bring people on. You said, I never want to stop doing the things that I don't like to do. But you also said, I want to be able to do more. So those two things are in direct contrast with one another. So is it you never want to forget how to do those, but you want someone else to do it? Or is it like, nope, I want to do literally everything I'm already doing, and I just want to bring someone else on to watch me do it?
I never want to forget how to do it, but I also believe that if you're going to be the best leader possible, is still taking actions in every part of the business. Doesn't have to be a very deep aspect of it, but still involved in it and understands.
Chase, you have a great metaphor with pushing carts.
That's exactly where I was going.
Good.
So this is interesting. This actually causes a lot of friction in conversations. So I'll just lay it up there. I used to work at the Home Depot. I used to actually push carts. The CEO of the Home Depot, I think his salary at the time, I think his name was Gold something. He bounced around to like 10 different companies and made tons of money. He made like 12 million bucks a year. Now the CEO shows up to a store and pushes carts, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, look at him. He's a man of the people. Okay. Here's the problem with that. Should a company pay someone $12 million a year to push carts? No or no? So he's not earning $12 million a year to push carts. So there's this like weird dichotomy, like it's a visual thing, it's a morale thing, totally get it. I think your people need to understand that you not only can do it, you have done it, you will do it if you have to. But there's also this flip side of like, you're there to grow the business. And if you're pushing carts, you're not growing the business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where does your mind go when you hear that?
Yeah, it goes to there's only so many hours in the day. How can I fit in all the actions that I need to be involved in? And that low-hanging fruit that I can offload to somebody that can probably do it better than me is a place to go.
Yeah. So the reality is if you were to look at all the actions you do on a daily basis, you could probably say, hey, this one makes me $500 an hour. And this one, if I do it, makes $30 an hour. So there is a difference as in that sliding scale. Now, a practical example of what he said, like, hey, pushing the cart as a morale booster, like Chase and I don't get on and call and lead generate on the phone on a daily basis, because our highest income producing activities is casting the vision, steering the ship, and then guiding and mentoring people through the process of becoming a killer salesperson. And Chase will still get on or I will, and we'll still make calls in front of them to show them not only can we do it and we're competent in it, but show them, lead by example. But we're not going to get on the phones every single day and call clients every single day, because that's not our highest income producing activity. So I think there is something to be said, like, yes, you can still jump in and do it and show it and lead by example, but you also can add a level of clarity to the fact that if you did all of those things that you don't want to do, it's going to limit the amount of time you can spend on the things that you do want to do and you should be doing more of, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just one last little caveat. You said I'm going to have them be my shadow for 6 weeks or whatever. I would probably like have them shadow pieces of you, so like, cause you want to see an impact in your business. Like any business owner out there, if you're hiring an executive assistant or some sort of force multiplier, like they're going to bring you in, or they're going to come into your world and they're going to multiply your effectiveness. It means you have to have time back. And if they're literally shadowing you for 6 weeks, that means that 6 weeks, you're actually probably going to be about 70% of your normal efficiency, because you're having to be like, this is why I do this. This is why I do that. So you run into a scenario where your business will go backwards if that's your strategy, which is not the worst strategy in the world. And the challenge is, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you ever hired someone and then like 90 days down the road, they didn't work out?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you do this and it's not the right hire, you were less effective, and you got to start over. So is there a way that maybe you could bring them in your world? They could take things off your plate right away. They could learn from you along the way, and your efficiency doesn't drop.
Yeah, I love that. To bring them in, find that place where I can free up time quickly and slowly transition things off to grow the business quicker.
Yeah. And just a side note tip, I love I, we, they. That's huge. You should definitely do that. Another strategy I've used that's worked really well is I want them to start to think like me. But in order for me to help them do that, I actually need to allow them to think on their own, because no matter what I tell them, they're not changing their thinking, right? They'll listen to me and do what I say, but it's not changing the way they think. So a great example of how we accomplish this is like every morning that person says, hey, here's the top 3 things I'm working on today. So now you see how they think. And then you can come in and be like, okay, that's not important. That's not important. Here's the other 2 things that are. Focus on this today. And you do that every day. And then at the end of the day, by the way, they come back and they're like, hey, here's what I got done today. Here's the questions I have. And you do that every day. And typically within 30, 60, 90 days, like the list they bring is as good or better than what you would have brought.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Scott, we could go down this path for hours.
We've already failed at it millions of times, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, but we have limited time, and I really want to get into this, because anybody listening to this that isn't on a team, or anybody that is on a team, they probably thought about it. Like it's very obvious you're business minded. It's very obvious that you have an entrepreneurial gene. So why be on a team? Because that's the question that I get from a lot of people. Like, hey, why would I join a team? That's giving up. Or why would I join a team? That's giving up part of my income. Why would I join a team? I want to build my own business. So what makes you choose a team as a business person and an entrepreneur versus just doing it all on your own?
2 things: structure and competition. Having daily calls, having the team already have set up that we're going to be on a call at 8:30 every day, at 12 o'clock every day, that we have accountability text message groups. That drives me and reminds me of what I need to be doing at different times of the day outside of what I'm doing personally. And then the competition, it's exciting to every month look at the leaderboard, see where we're at, see how I'm compared to my peers. Because I know I can always learn from them. And if they're doing better than me, what are they doing different? And how can I continue to help them grow as well?
Okay, so why can't you do that on your own? Because I just heard probably a ton of people have that thought, and well, but you could do that on your own.
Yeah,
Why?
absolutely. You can do it on your own. With who? And how are you going to find them? And what's going to be your process to create your circle of people that you're going to be doing that with on a daily basis? Personally, I know my time is best spent diving in and following that process and making sure that I execute on what the calendar says. If I'm spending all of my time looking for people and them maybe being a great accountability partner and maybe not, and then having to find somebody new over and over and going through that process, I enjoy being a part of the system.
And then probably also applying a lot of thought process around what's my structure going to be? What systems am I running? This technology doesn't work anymore. How do I change it? Do you see that as being a deterrent as to why it makes more sense for you to be on a team? Or
Yeah, I mean, how many agents are changing the brokerage that they're out on the every couple of months, the place that they're working with, the CRM that they're working with, having something consistent where if something isn't working, I don't have to be the one making calls to the IT support and all of those pieces. We have somebody that's going to take care of that for me. So my time can be used where it's best available.
go ahead, Chase.
I was just going to make sure we're understanding this. So if you were on your own, you would keep more of the commission on a transactional, like transaction per transaction, right?
Absolutely.
So you'd quote make more money, and you'd also have to take time that you don't do today, and you'd have to understand, which technologies to use. You'd have to design the touch programs that you want to go out to your people. You'd have to, if you had people helping you run this, you're the one responsible for holding them accountable. And when they quit or don't like something, you're the one having the conversation. So what I'm hearing is you're thinking like, well, that's time away from actually selling homes. Is that what you're saying?
We only have so much mental stamina to go through and deal with different issues. And one of my teammates, when people ask him what he does, he says, I'm a firefighter and a therapist. I put out fires every single day and I listen to people talk about what they're concerned about or what's going on. Same thing. If we fill our day with as many clients as possible, how much more can we do with following up with all those systems and correcting any of those issues? Having the team to lever that allows you to work with more people.
Wow. Here's what's super interesting about something you said earlier about bringing on support for yourself and then having your 20%, for in your colleagues' words, firefighter, therapist. Obviously, there's probably more to it, but that's the 20%, right? What's super interesting is a good friend of me and Chase is Adam Hergenrother. We were talking to him the other day, and he said, "Look, he's like the average top producer, the average top individual." Is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, right? Like 20% of their efforts result in 80% of their income. He's like, I'm not average. So I'm going to do everything I can to get to 99-1, where 1% of my activities result in 99% of my income. So here's what's super interesting is because you don't have to focus on the 80%, you're already in your 20%. Now you go get support. And so you're one step closer to getting to a 99-1 than someone who is not on a team hiring their first piece of support. Not on a team hiring your first piece of support is you're now marching towards trying to get to 80-20. So that's super interesting. A super interesting thought. When I say that, what do you think?
We all want to think that we can grind until we're number one. You can't do it alone. You need the people around you and the support and find ways to use the best use of your time to get there. Because otherwise we're going to crash and burn along the way.
Now, you said something earlier. You said before we got on here, you said that my clients are like my friends. They're like my family. So you said you invite them over to your house for events. Talk to us a little bit about that.
That's one of my favorite things to do every year. Every holiday, anything that we have going on, I look at my clients as a part of my family and as part of my friend group, and I obviously want to sell everybody a house, but I want, when they're living there, for them to love it and enjoy it and feel comfortable. Whenever they see me, be so excited to see me because of what that's provided them. And I want to also bring them into my family. 4th of July is coming up on the 3rd. We're having our entire street, all my client base, my daughter's kindergarten class, every family's invited over for happy hour, pizza and beer from 3 to 6. It's as simple as that. We're also strategic. It can be on those holiday weekends where half of the people we know are out of town. If they don't show up, it's okay because they got the call. I spoke with them, I invited them, and again, I'm back top of mind, which has grown that business.
Let's double click on that. Like you just said, if they don't show up, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So the value is in what?
The value is in the ask every single time, right? Are you available? If not, what do you have going on? Now I have a thing to follow up the next time I call them. You were at the beach during 4th of July. How was that? Who was there?
Well, that's twofold, by the way, from a value standpoint. I just connected, and they now feel like, oh my gosh, that was so sweet of him to invite me, right? So it's like you have an excuse to connect. Now you're connecting, and you're giving them something, whether they show up or not. They feel like they got it.
And in the third piece of it that I think is genius is you manufactured a follow-up. You found out what they're doing in place of coming to your house, which gives you the follow-up conversation later. Like to me, that's genius. And honestly, the genius is in the simplicity of what that is. It's so simple and uncomplicated, and we tend to always try to overcomplicate it.
Well, what's the budget, Scott? How much are you going to spend on the 4th of July? Are you splitting this with your team? Is it you? And what's your ROI? Or do you have an expected ROI, or do you just not care?
Obviously, we all want an ROI on everything, but if the math is the most important thing, it's only going to be involving math. So for me, each event, try to keep it under $1,000. So, supplying 100 people beer and pizza, easily done under $1,000. I'll split that with my lender. He'll be there as well. He can invite his family, any of his clients, anybody along those lines, his team, and it becomes kind of a team event for him as well. So out of pocket for me, about $500.
Wow. And it gives you a reason to call, and then it gives you a lot of face-to-face time with people to reconnect, re-engage. Do you do anything strategically to capture information when people are coming to these things?
Yeah, so something that's as simple as coming to my house, not gathering or capturing as much because I most likely have their info of their address, their email, their name, number to be able to invite them. One of my other favorite event that I do each year during the wintertime, one of my close friends, he owns a daycare and a play center about 30 minutes away from me. So I sponsor a free play day where they can invite everybody that goes to their play center. We put it on a bunch of different play groups. And I cover every kid that comes throughout the day. And that, again, still costs a little bit less than $1,000 to have everybody through. So who doesn't want to bring their kid to a play center in February when it's snowing out? Everybody's got energy. You've got stuff going on. Bring your kid over. We got food. They can play for the next 4 hours. By the way, to do that, you have to fill out the waiver form. Part of this, name, email, phone number, and the person sponsoring receives that. As simple as that. I'm introducing people, inviting them in. Great. Sign-ups over here. And now it's a drip follow-up.
Oh, sorry, Brent. Is the play center advertising for you?
Yeah. So advertised
you're
on
getting
their
leads.
page. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Damn,
so
that's really cool.
like every person listening to this, that's the one, like there's a lot of things to write down, but that thing right there, that's a thing to write down. Like go get in touch with a play center of some sort in the middle of winter, host an event, bring your kids, drop them off for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, go do what you do or hang out or whatever. But like capture information and then have the play center co-market it. Oh my gosh.
That is super smart. Now I want to just tap into mindset because people are listening to this and Brent, we know realtors that like every transaction I give a $500 whatever gift to, a closing gift because that's my value, which of course, your value is doing a great job, by the way. Like that's your value. But this is interesting. Like I guarantee you, your client who you gave the $500 closing gift to, and they forgot you even gave it to them, and they probably forgot about it by and large. there's certain ones that go, but you could do one $500 investment and get your lender in, and that's for all of your clients. And then you put this on, and they'd much rather have the opportunity to stay engaged with you throughout the year and continue to refer you because they know you'll do a great job, not because you buy a gift card or something silly. So I love what you're doing, Scott. This is just incredible.
Yeah, Scott, we're actually a little over, but I want to end on this thought. If you had to start over in real estate today, and let's say you had to go back and talk to your rookie Scott, what would you tell rookie Scott to do different that you didn't do? What would you do differently?
I would tell rookie Scott to schedule in a breather once a week so that it is already on the calendar, so you're not trying to relax at random times. If you're going to perform at a high level and you're going to work with a lot of clients, you're going to get tired and you're going to burn out at some point in time. So when are you going to have some personal time? Make sure that's on the calendar.
Phenomenal advice. I love that. It's funny, we don't think about that when we're starting, right? Because we're just like, how do I pour everything into this? And the reality is frankly, why a lot of people probably either get out of the business or decide not to produce at a high level is because they burn out. So awesome. Scott, dude, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and all of your thoughts. It was a phenomenal conversation.
You made Nick look bad. So good job, dude.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me. I hope I get an IMDb page after this. So look me up on there later.
You know what? I'll put in the request.
I'll put in the request
after this.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Thanks,
see you later,
Scott.
man.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.